Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome back to Grateful April, the event where we get to take some time throughout the month of April and reflect upon our art journeys and practice a bit of gratitude. Today is day 27, rejection. Talk about one, whether it's being rejected by a gallery, a convention, role model, senpai not noticing you. Am I the only one that's happened? No. Yeah, I have to admit this is probably one of the prompts I was dreading the most. Not because it's like my least favorite, but I mean, rejection is just not an easy thing to talk about in general. Um, but before I get into that, I just want to thank you guys for your comments. I really appreciate that. So nice. Feel a lot better today too. Thank goodness. Also, the picture. I decided after posting a poll on Twitter, which element. I just told people to pick an element and lightning one. So I went with one of the pictures of those girls I'd drawn from way back when. And oh gosh, I feel like I did take a little bit of artistic license with this one. I really don't like the original design at all. It's so it's so lazy. It literally is just jagged, like it's just a bunch of zigzags for the dress. And I'm like, how? I mean, I think what I was trying to do was make it look like a sort of fringe on her top is kind of shaped like lightning bolts, and the crown was supposed to be like that as well. So, I mean, I tried to do that. I've never colored any of these characters before either because I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I used to never color my pieces. It seriously, I don't know if it just never occurred to me or I just never, I only drew with pencil. And that was, I would shade. And that was, I guess, how I learned shading for the most part. But I didn't start coloring my pieces until like 5 years ago. So this is like, all this stuff is like, huh, well, I need to figure out a color scheme for this one. So, yeah, I realized that while I was doing this, the parallels between her and Sailor Jupiter is like, yeah, you can tell this was inspired by Sailor Moon. So the topic for today, uh, I don't really have a good segue. Yeah, it's like, yay, talk about a time you were rejected. Yeah. No. um and I've been trying so hard to think about how to go about this too. I've had this one in particular in mind because I'll backtrack a bit. Speaking of 2012, that was around the time I joined DeviantArt. It I think it was January or it was 2011, 2012. And at the time, I would say most of my art, it was really rough and, you know, skill wise, definitely very low on the pole because just, I didn't have any competition or when you're in an environment where you can see other artists and when you are exposed to much higher level of skill, then your art just improves almost by default because, as artists, we are affected by our surroundings. So when I finally got into DeviantArt, I started improving really rapidly just because I saw a bunch of things and I did deal with a lot of emotional setbacks in comparing myself too, I will admit, but for the most part, it's been really positive and making art friends has driven me to draw more as well. So whenever I would join contests though, I tried because I wanted to try, I guess, somewhat proving to myself that I had a place. The comparison factor is definitely strong in those times, but I would win a couple of the contests actually. It was really it of course stroked my ego. So um I also I kind of had this weird habit of looking at contests and I would enter not necessarily for the prize. It was more of an emotional ego trip. Like, if I felt confident that I could win, then I would enter. And I know that's really messed up when when you think about it, but that was just my mindset at the time because I was starting to feel insecure. So if I didn't put in the effort, or if I did lose, and I'd just be like, oh, well, I guess I didn't try my hardest. I just wanted to see. Because there were a couple of contests where I went in with that mindset and then lost too, of course. But yeah. So I just kind of adapted this sort of mindset that as long as I don't put everything that I have into something, then the disappointment of losing wouldn't hurt. And for the most part, I was right. There are times when I lost, but I just kind of, it didn't affect me as bad as I thought it would initially. But I always just had that in the back of my mind. It's been like that with school and just a lot of other endeavors. Like, if I don't put in my all and come up short, then there's no heartbreak. But in the same sense, I'm still not putting my best foot forward. So it kind of, it gets a little iffy. So fast forward to around 2015, I start following a couple of artists on DeviantArt and watching their streams, and I noticed that they were making really gorgeous and detailed works, and they were saying that they were for art books. And I didn't even think about, using DeviantArt as a networking platform to, make art books, but I mean, out of sight, out of mind. So I start looking into these art books, and they actually look really cool. Like, it was really interesting. And I love how not even just for making money, but there were charity art books, you know, books that would donate like 90% of the proceeds to charity and, save for printing costs and all that jazz. But it was just really, it was the first time I had looked at my art and I was like, you know what? I can do some good with this. Like, there's more to this than just, me trying to feel good about myself. And I knew my art wasn't quite at the level I wanted it to be. So, especially in 2015, things just kind of took a turn not very well health wise when I had trigger finger. So, I started shifting my mindset to try and put better work out there, and not just put better work, but try to do my best to look at my pieces and figure out what I can do better next time. So I started searching around, looking for art books and trying to learn how to do backgrounds. I wanted to start learning how to be a storyteller with my work because that felt more meaningful to me. And then I found a case where they were hosting a contest to enter into a charity art book, and I took it. I mean, I thought, you know what? I'm finally going to do it. I'm finally going to do something that really, this meant a lot. I looked into the charity. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, I love the cause. It means so much. I really want to, I really want to step up, bring my A game. And I got to work. I worked on it for a few months. I sought other artists for feedback on critiques, especially for my anatomy, because my anatomy, woof. um, but I wanted to, I had to swallow a lot of pride. That was definitely a tough pill to swallow, but it helped me, and I felt confident. I felt a bit worried too, though, because the people who are also entering this contest were really good artists, like really good. And I was like, oh boy, this is scary. um, I mean, I was hoping for the best. And then they actually had realized how many submissions they were receiving. So they opened up another slot because if you had, I think like the first two people win, like the first two winners would get a spot in the book. And then they opened it up. I opened up a third one, so like, oh, maybe it didn't, because there were a couple other pieces where I was like, oh boy, they look really good. Well, maybe I have a chance still. I don't know. I think, obviously, I think you can see where this is going. Not only did I not win, I didn't even place. And I hope I'm not going to give names for the group either, because, I respect their decision. It's, if I find out anyone has gone up to the group and have given them any grief because of this, I will be very upset with you. Like, seriously, don't do that. That's very disrespectful. So, um, but I will say it kind of broke my heart. um, putting in that effort, and after all this time, just thinking about all the other occasions where I could have done better, I could have done my best. And I kept thinking, maybe I should have started sooner. Maybe I'd procrastinated. Maybe I should have changed this or that or the other thing. And I don't know what the reasoning was, but it just didn't end up winning or even placing. And it's how life goes. And, it's something I don't think artists often talk about when people go up to them and ask them, what do you have to do? What do I have to do to become as good as you? I don't think artists are willing to talk about this nearly as often, because one of the things it requires is heartbreak. Being able to deal with something like that, because essentially it felt like I was being rejected for the art book. That was the only chance I had to be in that art book. And it probably doesn't seem like that now. It felt that way to me at the time. And I think to an extent it felt like a rejection from myself, because it was almost trying to fulfill a self-fulfilling prophecy that you shouldn't put everything you have into something. I don't know. But what I do know is I was heartbroken, but then because I had other things going on, I picked myself up and got back to work. You have to be willing to try your hardest, do your best, and fail again and again and again. And there's no guarantee that you'll succeed. The only thing that really is guaranteed is that you're going to fail. And I think that's why so many people come up to artists and want this answer that doesn't require them to have to put in that kind of effort. They don't want to get hurt. And I understand it too, because it's painful. It's really painful. If you had asked me to fulfill this prompt, I wouldn't have talked about this scenario if some time hadn't passed in between when it happened and now, because it really, I had no idea how to feel about it for a while. And even just trying to understand it, because when you come from that mindset, it's really tempting to go back to not putting your all into things, because it's like, well, I tried it and that didn't work out, so I might as well just not, might as well just not do that. So, yeah, see, I'm kind of glad I talked about day 19, I believe it was, with options and answering Cal's question. I'm glad I talked about that first, because I knew this one would I would get a bit uncomfortable as well. I think it kind of helps, especially with the positive response from you guys. I think it helps just talking about it, because I know I'm not the only one who's dealt with rejection like this. And I know there are going to be a lot more rejections in the future, and there have been since. That one just, I think, is kind of like the first cut is the deepest. I think that really just left a big impact on me, because I really felt like I had something to lose in that case. But I feel like it makes me a stronger person too. That's why I wrote on the prompt that these are the scars that don't define us, but they can teach us and help us grow stronger. It really is, because the rejection, it's not, it's not permanent. The way we react to it can make it permanent, but that's only if we let it. Yeah. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. We're gonna, if it feels really somber, I would say I apologize, but I feel like that's doing a disservice to the people who have felt like this before, so I'm not gonna apologize for it. I hope that maybe this provides a bit of solace for people who have felt this way. And I hope that you can get back up and keep going, and we're in this together, I definitely want to convey how much I'm rooting for you guys. I want to support you and all this stuff. um but we're gonna take a bit more of a lighthearted turn tomorrow, and I hope you can tune in for day 28. I think I may do another flip through of a sketchbook. I don't know. Actually, I may just draw another one of those characters. I think I will. So I'll leave this. I think I'm just going to pick one randomly, actually. Oh my gosh, this video is so long. I hope you can forgive me for that at least. But I think I'll pick the character I'm going to draw for tomorrow. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys like the drawing, and yeah, I hope you can tune in for day 28. Until next time.